All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Art with Errol podcast. This is your Monday check-in. Let's go. Welcome, y'all. Welcome. This week, y'all, I kind of wanted to touch on starting over and how it's not starting from scratch. And we'll dive into that in a second. I think I got the mic turned up just a tad too high. We'll just tap it down a little bit. And if you're new to my channel or my podcast, right, we basically kind of talk about, this journey as a content creator, right? I'm Errol. I'm your host. I've been in the Navy for 20 years. I started streaming games and doing art videos around 2018-ish. And, I've been on this journey trying to learn how to grow my social media. I actually also, when I retired, I went to school and got a degree in graphics design. So I've also been a social media manager for the West Point Academy Department of Behavioral Science and Leadership for about a year. So I have experience with social media, and I've been doing it for a little while. And I always like to do my recap from last week. So that's why I like to check in on Monday, kind of talk about last week a little bit, and then, dive into a little topic, which, I think our topic is starting over because I just started over recently. So I've talked about it before for all the listeners. Sorry if I'm repeating myself. I do that from time to time. So last week, we had a wonderful week. We did our podcast, and we got about 4 game streams in. We streamed the finals. We streamed Shinobi Art of Vengeance. And we did our emote for our Twitch channel. So I still have 3 more emotes I can make, and we'll talk about which one we're going to do this week. We've made 2 already, so I think you get a total of 5 for tier 1. So working on emotes, just doing that as the art videos for till we get the first tier 1 covered, and then we'll go back to doing some sketches and stuff. So wonderful week last week. I always want more participation, and I'm getting participation. I'm seeing folks commenting now. I got a few people, and I'm enjoying that. The interaction with people. I mean, that's what social media is supposed to be. It's supposed to be you're able to express yourself, but also interact with folks, right? So the fact that we have a few people that are commenting on videos now is really awesome. And it's been a journey, y'all. So not too long ago, I moved down here to Kentucky, and I was in New York for a while, and that's where I was working at West Point there. And I switched jobs coming down here, obviously, but I needed to change, right? So I was primarily doing a lot of stuff on Facebook. I recently just kind of stopped Facebook stuff. I still post on Facebook, but I'm not really streaming over there anymore. Mainly because the growth is just stopped. And this happened when they kind of gave up on their gaming division, which led to me, wanting to reset because I got almost up to 800 followers, or it was 800 followers at one point, and it just ceased. They gave up on the gaming department, and the gaming department just fell apart. So streaming over there just is not great. Even though I can receive stars and all that stuff. So I primarily been streaming on Twitch and YouTube now. Which I think is going to be better in the long run. I should have really never left YouTube, but here we are, starting over, right? So when I moved down here to Kentucky, we decided that we would start over back on YouTube, which is what I've been pushing mostly, is YouTube. And my career, is different now because I couldn't do the social media thing anymore. So we're doing something else right now, which I got a little job. That's all that matters. Make a little money, get my retirement check. All that's good. And on my spare time, I do the content creation side. So, and then family time. So I try to align everything and have a nice schedule. And I think for the most part, I do pretty well. Shifting jobs, it definitely was a reset, because I'm doing something just to do something right now. Just got me whatever job I could get down here because there was nothing available in the social media or graphics design department, so. And I don't really plan on being here in Kentucky too long. So, probably be moving again and looking for a job somewhere else. So we're going to continue going, though. And the social media thing can travel with you. That's the one good thing about social media. Where you move, you can always, continue your journey. I think the main thing is I want to stick to the platform. And the resetting of the platform, because if I would have just stuck with YouTube from the beginning, and just kept making everything on YouTube, I probably would have had a lot more followers on YouTube. But when I stopped doing content on YouTube to go to Facebook, at the time, there wasn't multi-streaming, or I couldn't multi-stream unless you was using, I guess it was Stream.io had it at one point. It came out. Excuse me, y'all. I needed a drink. So, and I didn't sign up for that. So, now pretty much every OBS you can multi-stream, Streamlabs you can multi-stream. I mean, you gotta, there's ways of multi-streaming from pretty much anything now. So, it's a little bit more convenient or in more places, right? Than when it first came out. So I was primarily just doing most of the stuff on Facebook at that point. But when I left YouTube, I had about almost 400. I think I was at 300 and something. I'm still at 300 and something on my original YouTube channel. And I mean it's a stagnated growth, but I don't really post enough. And I think, because my gaming channel is starting to grow. And that's just because I post more frequently and I'm doing shorts every day. And, I'm having at least 3 to 4 game streams a week, right? So, and then on the art channel, I'm doing 1 art video a week. And, I very rarely post shorts on there. So the growth on that channel is just kind of slow, but I think if I grow the gaming channel and I just keep promoting the art channel as well, hopefully some of those followers will bounce back and forth between channels. We'll see how that goes from here on out, but that's the plan of it. At least that's the plan. Because I split the channel. I was doing everything on one channel at one point. It was just art and gaming, all on the Art with Errol channel. But I had decided when I came back to YouTube that I wanted to do the reset from zero. So that's why I did the Art with Errol gaming channel, to kind of just have a fresh new channel and just grow from there. So this has been the experience, y'all. And the thing that I want to touch on about, starting over is not starting from scratch, because you still have your knowledge, right? That you've learned, all the stuff you've learned, and you can use a lot of the things you've learned to, go into that new channel. And that's the plus, I guess, to, starting over. You still have the knowledge, you still have everything you've learned up to that point. So even though you're starting a new channel, you can still have growth and, and making a new establish yourself again, reestablish yourself. I think that's the best word for it. Reestablish yourself again. So that's why I think, at least for me, it feels like, I'm not at zero, even though, you're at 0 followers when you start a new channel. You can, if you do your videos right and everything, you can gain traction pretty quick, which, it's only been a year and some change, and our channel has grown, not super fast, but we have grown, and we're at 162 now. So the viewership is showing 14.4K, so the channel is getting views. It's not as many subscribers as you would like to have, but it's fine. Growth is growth, whether it's fast or slow. As long as you're growing and you're trying to progress yourself, I think that's good. So it's a fresh new environment too when you start over from scratch, right? You got a whole fresh, basically it's a fresh platform. And you're coming in with a new perspective, or your perspective is you have the knowledge, right? So the knowledge is there. Lessons, the mistakes you've made, you know to not make certain mistakes. That you need to do certain things before you drop the video. Like, make sure you have a good description, having some hashtags, that you post it. And then you also, share it. You got to share it to different platforms like X and your other YouTube channels. So, there's things that you've learned that you can implement on that new channel, which will help you, gain traction. So there's positives to starting over. There's negatives too, of course. We all know the negatives, like you're starting from 0, right? And it's a chance to leave behind what you've done before. You can change it up. You can have a whole totally new way of doing things. So it's a good time for that fresh start, right? The fresh start is always good. Personal example, I guess, for that would be, I used to wear the glasses. I don't wear the shades anymore. Doing the costume stuff. I really don't do the costume stuff anymore. I still like having the virtual set. So, just like this, if you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube, and if you're just listening to it, you're not going to see the virtual set, obviously. But, the virtual set I created myself, so I still use the virtual set because I like the virtual set. Sometimes, you don't want to show the inside your house, or maybe my kids might be in the back, and I don't want them in the live stream or on the channel. So, having the green screen to me is beneficial when you have a family. Now, if I had a separate room that I could do this in the house, and the chance of someone walking behind it, they don't want to be on stream. They might just want to be chilling in the living room or wherever. You want to be able to keep it separate, right? So for me, the green screen and the virtual set is still a positive for me. And some people, they just show the room because they have a room dedicated for streaming or whatever it is, whatever creation they're doing, right? If it's just a podcast, they might have a podcasting room with a table and, nice stuff they can put on the walls and all that. So your setup can be changed, That's also a positive. You're redefining yourself, You're basically redefining yourself, which I think is good, right? Some advice. What would be some advice that I could give to everybody? Just don't be afraid, embrace it, right? Don't be scared to make those changes, right? If you tried things and it didn't work out well, it's okay. You can always reinvent it, there's nothing wrong with reinventing it. Now, if you already have a following base and they are, into the things that you've been doing, maybe you don't want to change too much because, the viewers be like, why you changed it up? We like this or something, so, that can also be a hindrance as well. So you got to be careful about change. But if you're like me and, your followership dropped and you basically, your start over is like your chance to just try to rebuild the community, then, starting completely over is fine, which is my case, think about what you've learned. Take inventory, right? Think about it. Like sit down before you start up, which I did. I planned things out and I started building this channel or this gaming channel that I basically shifted to, right? I sat down and thought about how I wanted to do it, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do the costume stuff anymore, so I kind of like just took that out, right? I really sat down and thought about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to proceed before I actually started it up when we got down here. And you can start small. I mean, I think that's also some good advice, taking baby steps, right? Applying all your experiences to get, the momentum that you want. I think that's also good. Surrounding yourself with supportive people is also great. I always try to reach out to people on, they say collaborate with folks, right? Collaborate with other creators. I try to reach out to other creators. Some creators they're not always going to want to chat with you or, you see somebody doing well and you may say, hey, maybe this guy will give me some tips or I can ask him for help or something. They're not all going to respond to you. So don't, I just say if they don't respond, just move on. It's all good. Doesn't mean you have to not watch them anymore or anything like that because, you may like their content and that's fine. Let's keep watching them, but don't be afraid. I think to reach out to people and ask for help, is a thing that you shouldn't be scared of, but know that not everybody's going to respond and give you help, if anybody asks me, I try to help them as best I can. And sometimes you can't help, or maybe, it is what it is, so you got to be understanding too. So I think for advice wise, I think that's it. Just really plan your stuff out, and like I've talked about in the past, I think, having a good schedule is critical, to, getting some success, because I feel like since I've been more active, right, I've been posting at least one short a day. People know that I'm going to have some kind of content up, and, I've been trying to make things better each time. A lot of people don't always give you the feedback of like, what they do like and don't like about your video. So sometimes it can be challenging to figure out or pinpoint when, when your content is like you have a drop off. Like if you're looking at the analytics and you see, a lot of people stop watching at this point, you have to just kind of watch your content and see if you can figure it out on your own. And I try, but sometimes you just don't understand like why people just stop watching. Maybe it just wasn't being entertaining enough, or the topic wasn't interesting, and they just decided to move on. And I think that happens, but I always try to improve, and I think that's the main thing is you keep trying to push yourself to improve. So to me, to kind of like close this out on my thoughts on this, starting over is not starting from scratch. You still have all your lessons learned. And sometimes just sitting down and writing them out and, just figuring out your new way forward before you start up that new channel is good. It's good. You're carrying your past forward. So into a new chapter. He's basically going into a new chapter, y'all. So reset, y'all. If you have to reset, there's moments, there's opportunity. It's still there. It's just, if you have to, you reset. That's what I think. But I would like to invite everybody, to share your own story. If you had to reset, and you could tell me like kind of what actions you took. If you want to shoot me something on Twitter, it's Art with Errol. Or if you want to comment on the podcast, please comment on the podcast. You can always reach me on the Art with Errol channel or the Art with Errol gaming channel as well. Because we basically got the 3 channels, and the podcast is on, pretty much the major podcasting platforms. So if you're listening, I think there's a comment section on those platforms as well. So, I would prefer everybody come to YouTube, because, I've been trying to just push YouTube since that's where I started. Coming back from Facebook back to YouTube to me was, like no brainer. Let's just go back to where we started, and just reset there and try again. And that's the way this journey has been going, y'all. And like I said, I'm seeing some success. From 0 to 162 in a year, to a lot of people, y'all be like, oh, well, that's not a lot. I mean, I get it, maybe some folks have greater successes, but that's not my success story. My success story is I'm seeing growth. I'm seeing viewership. So people are interested. It's just a lot harder to figure out how to get them to hit the subscribe button, And I get tired of saying that, I don't like having to say that at the end of every video. I know YouTube will tell you in their little videos, make sure you tell them to like and subscribe. Maybe I just don't want to say that. So a lot of times I just won't say it. I'll just have the little, like GIF I created, and then I'll have the other one with the, the cursor hitting the button. But you probably should say it. I probably should say it, at the end of every content that we create. But I don't know. I feel like, that's repeated so much that, like, people are probably tired of that. Maybe that's just me tired of hearing it, because I hear other creators saying, I'm like, man, you shouldn't have to say that. If you like the video, you like the video, But I do appreciate all the folks that have been tuning in. It's really great. I enjoy making content, y'all, and that's why I do it. I don't really have to, have 1,000 people join today and be like, oh, that was, like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, to me, it's just more about, learning to make good content and just keep trying and trying to learn something new each time, because there's always stuff to learn in content creation. You got to push yourself, I like challenges, and I think streaming this podcast definitely took me a while to get more comfortable in talking. So, just learning to do these things, learning how to set up OBS, how to, create these scenes that I created. All this stuff was a learning thing. Everything's challenging. Everything has its, everything has its challenges, and nothing's easy. So to me, the journey is what I'm enjoying, and I do like the fact that we're gaining subscribers and that people are starting to participate. I get a few comments here and there now, whereas before it was, very random. You'll see a comment, so I think it's progress, and hard work pays off. at the end of the day, right? Hard work does pay off. So, you just got to keep working hard, keep pushing yourself. And like I said, don't be afraid to reset if you have to, because you still have the knowledge of what you learned, and you can apply the knowledge of what you learned on your new channel. So going from that, I'd like to talk, about the gaming channel. We can, so for the gaming channel, y'all, we been playing through Shinobi Art of Vengeance, and it's fun. I like the game. I haven't been getting 100% completion. I just want to play through the game and get the story. A lot of times with some of these games, I just kind of want to see the story or play through it, just like what we did with South of Midnight. It was a great game. South of Midnight was a great game. We played through that, and I enjoyed the story, y'all. It was a great little story. I kind of felt like at the end we was missing a boss battle. Like I honestly thought that we was going to have to fight the grandmother. I don't want to spoil. I might be spoiling it, but if you ain't played it by now, the game been out for a long while now. I was thinking the grandmother was going to like turn into a creature or something, and we were going to have to battle the grandma or something. But that's not how it ended up. And if you want to watch that, you can watch and see how it ended on my channel, which would be great. That gives me a view. But the game was great. And I'm enjoying Shinobi Art of Vengeance. So I will continue playing through that this week. But today, after this stream, I wanted to play a little shooter game. So I was thinking either some Call of Duty or the finals or something, just to kind of like, get a little shooter action in. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we will continue Shinobi Art of Vengeance. And that's where we'll go from that, y'all. I kind of feel like that's the way forward until we beat it. And when October 10th come around, we'll be back on to Battlefield, because Battlefield will be out, y'all. And I'm really excited for Battlefield, y'all. I am really excited for Battlefield. So I can't wait till that game drops. And we'll be diving back into Battlefield, which is a really fun game. And it'll be nice to see whenever they drop the Battle Royale for it. I know a lot of people don't want it, but I want it, so I'm cool with it. So that's where we're at with gaming. When it comes to artwork, I kind of touched on it. We are continuing making the emotes until I have 5 for tier 1 on Twitch, since we have monetization for subscribers. We can get subscribers. So if you want to drop your boy a Prime sub, you have a Prime sub to give, you can go to Art with Errol on Twitch and use that Prime sub, and then you can use the emotes that I'm creating. So I have 2 right now. I plan to have 3 by the end of the week, and then we'll do next week 1 more. We'll come up with something to make for another 2. We need 2 more after that. So, and that'll give us 5 for our gaming channel on Twitch, which is nice. I don't have the monetization on YouTube yet. Obviously, you need a lot more followers on YouTube, and I can actually, that's something I can actually talk about here. So basically, I guess to get the eligibility, it's high, man. It's a lot. You need 3,000 watch hours, and on top of that, you need 500 subscribers. So we're not at 500 subscribers, so we can't even, get to that point yet. We're at 162, so we're ways away. Hopefully, if you're listening, you'll go and subscribe to the Art with Errol Gaming channel and help us get to 500. Since that's our goal, in order to be able to unlock some monetization stuff on YouTube, which we're a ways away, but hopefully we'll get there. At some point we'll get there. I think that's where we're at today, y'all. it's a wonderful week. I just did an 8-hour shift, and we can do some closing. Do we have any other closing thoughts? I don't think I really have any other closing thoughts, y'all. Just don't be afraid to drop your boy a comment, man. That's what social media is supposed to be about, right? Being able to interact and communicate with folks, basically, through videos and live streams and game streams and stuff, interact with folks, the idea of it being social. All right, y'all, this is 30-minute podcast, not too bad. I think it was a pretty decent topic. I always try to have like a little topic or something to talk about, and I can kind of give a little bit of what my experiences are, as a creator, and still learning and trying to get better. There's just a lot you can use and a lot you can learn from other folks too. So I appreciate everyone as always. So I guess I'll say the phrase now. Don't forget to like and subscribe or follow or whatever it is on the platform, and hit your boy up in the comments. And don't be afraid to drop into the live stream and say hello. So till next time, you know what to do. I'm out of here, y'all.